All right, today we're finally going to get a chance to take a step on Ragnar. We've not been able to do a lot for a good long time. There's just been too much going on. Life's been so busy, and today we're finally going to get a chance to do some more. So we're looking forward to that. So as you can see, Ragnar's just been sitting under the tarp. We're trying to just get everything together that we're going to need so that we can get him put together and deal with all the other projects and stuff that are in front of him, make way so that when we're ready to go, we can move quickly. So a good friend of ours, as part of the Dirty Bunch Jeep Club, had built a trailer that had that he made from a truck bed, and it had a 35 rear end on it. And we just took a trip up onto the Florida Adventure Trail, and during that trip, the differential in the rear axle seized up, and so he's in need of a rear axle, a 35 to be specific. It just so happens I got one sitting right there. So he's going to come over this morning. We're going to jack Ragnar up. We're going to pull that out, and we're going to put in the 1-ton axle for the rear that we've got ready to go. The front axle is not ready. We're still cutting off all of the brackets and everything so that we can get that, cleaned up and ready to go. But the rear axle has been cleaned up. We cut off all the brackets. We got it cleaned up, painted. It doesn't have the new brackets on there, but at least we can now roll it up under there and get it tied down or strapped down, or the U-bolted down, however you want to say that, so that it can at least be in place, and he can go ahead and take that 35 and get it out of here. It frees up some garage space for us, which is huge. And then we can do it. Obviously, you don't want to try to do this in your driveway, but we really don't have a lot of options here. Ragnar's not running. The good news is that there's very little attached to the existing rear axle. I mean, as it is right now, there's nothing. I mean, the brake lines aren't connected, and none of it's connected. There's no drive shafts. It should be a matter of just releasing the U-bolts, lifting it up, rolling it out, because this is a leaf over, so the axle's on the bottom side of the leaf springs. We don't even have to lift those up and pull them out. We would just lift up the Jeep, roll the old axle out, roll the new axle in. So it sounds really, really easy, right? Well, nothing's ever quite that easy. I'm sure that we're going to run into problems, but that's the plan for today. We're just trying to figure out what's the best way to get that done. Starting to line out some gear here. Going to need some cinder blocks, jack stands. Our buddy's going to bring some extra gear with him as well. So first things first, we need to finish getting our gear together. We need to get the tarp off. Okay, so there are a few things that have changed since the last time we showed you Ragnar. You can see that we've got the soft top on there and the white doors. That's because we took those off of Julie. She got a nice hard top, and she's got the hard top doors that go on there. We didn't really have a place to put those, so for now they're sitting on Ragnar, and I think it looks pretty good, actually. We weren't real sure what we were going to do, whether we were even going to have a top, but I think it works pretty good. And anyways, you can see inside, I mean, we really still have not done a whole lot. We've cleaned it up, got it out, all the junk and stuff that was out of here. Remember, there was leaves, some rust and metal and screws and bolts and stuff laying around in there. We've got it all cleaned up. We've got really now just some storage stuff in here. We've got these big old straps that we plan to carry with us when we're on the trail, that we've got with us. And we bought a set of these tracks to go with the Jeep as well. This is just a big roll of some thick rubber, and we haven't decided if we're going to use that as kind of a flooring back here, or if we get a hard top, we were thinking that we might use that as kind of an insulator on the top of the hard top. kind of help make it a little bit quieter, help to keep the sun's heat from coming through. I mean, we live here in Florida, and that sun heat coming through the hardtop, that is brutal. We know that from Valkyrie, our 2018 JL has a black hardtop, and while the hard tops from the JLs are significantly better than the hard tops on the JKs, at least from insulation perspective, it still puts through a lot of heat. So that's where we're at right now. I'm just going to do a little bit of prep work now and try to get everything as close or as much together as possible, so that when our buddy gets here, maybe we don't have to spend all day trying to get these axles out. Oh yeah, by the way, here's what we're going to try to put in today. This is the wheels and tires that we've bought to go on. They are 40-inch on 17-inch rims. Here's the rear axle that we've already cleaned up and put together. Excuse me. You can see it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the way that this has turned out. I mean, that, in my opinion, looks pretty good, especially for people that have not done this before. This is what the front axle looks like. You can see, that's a lot of cleanup to go from that to this. That's significant. I mean, that's no small cleanup project. It took us a good bit. It was actually easier than I thought, though, but you can see here's all the stuff that we cut off. We're trying to keep all that just in the off chance that we might want or need that later. Still got a lot of work to do here, and we'll try to bring you along the way for that. But this is hopefully what it's going to look like. I mean, that's pretty clean. I mean, that looks pretty close to new, aside from, you can see there's a dent. But who cares, And look at the size of this rear axle, and then look at what's in here right now. This is a massive upgrade. This is the Dana 35 that came with the Jeep. These are 1-ton axles. These are off of a 2014 F-250 Super Duty. These are 1-ton beefy axles. I mean, look at the brakes on these things. They're just massive. And when you compare that to what's under there right now, this is going to be a huge upgrade. I'm so excited for this. But one thing about this, I'll just mention before we move on. We really debated whether or not we wanted to widen the stance, because the wheels here are going to get moved out just a few inches on here. I mean, this is a little bit wider stance, but it's significantly more weight. Our thought was, I mean, especially the way that Ragnar is sitting right now, it's around 80 inches. That's up there a bit. I mean, that's the equivalent. I mean, that's probably about an 8-inch lift. The guy that we got it from said it was an 11-inch lift. I don't know if that's quite right, but I'd say it's probably about a 6-inch lift, maybe even 8. That's enough to make it kind of feel a little top heavy. So the thought was, these YJs have very little weight up in top. I mean, there's nothing to them. So my thought was, if we're going to get out and we're going to go to some trails where we're off camber, we're doing some climbing, we're going over some rocks, to have all of that weight down low with a wider footprint, that's not a bad thing. So I think that what we're going to try to do is just do that. We're going to bring as much of the weight down low as we can, widen that footprint just a little bit, and then hopefully when we get to some trails and stuff, that'll really pay off for us. I don't care if it's got a little extra weight as long as it's down low. So there we are. Okay, so we've got the axles swapped out, and you know, so this makes a big change. I mean, we get up under here, we can see here's the 1-ton axle in the back as compared to the 35 in the front. This is going to be a huge upgrade, not just in the axles but also in the tire size. You know, what we've had to begin with here are some 38-inch super swampers. They're completely bald, and we're going from that to the 40-inch tires now with the 1-ton axle. So this is a dramatic change, a big upgrade. But you can see just the difference between the front and the rear. It kind of gives us a little bit of a insight into what this is actually going to look like when it's all said and done. And that's exciting because this project has taken a long time to finally get started. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit longer before we can actually really get on it. But you know, before, after, you know, and you can tell a little bit, but the rear is actually now going to stick out another inch and a half on each side. So we're also going to have a little bit wider footprint. And we had to get the tarp back on because we have a very strict HOA, and with our Jeep incomplete, we'd be having to deal with them every day if it didn't have a tarp on it. So that's all we've got right now. Hopefully we'll be able to get the other axle cleaned up. We'll try to get you some video on that once we are working on it again, and then hopefully we can get it over to the shop shortly after that, start to get some help with getting the steering arms and everything in place so that we can actually have the front end done and ready to go. And when that's done, then we're going to move on to the engine and try to get everything put together and running. So we got a long way to go, but we'll try to get you guys some good video so that you can see as we make our progress.